You, Rama. It's always a pleasure to be with you. So, I'm just going to talk a little bit about how technology should help us. But before I start this, I truly believe in this that all doctors must understand that they are premium. First, we must learn to value our skills and our abilities, and we are more premium than the technology that we use. So, this is my first statement, and I want everyone to understand this. Look at this. The grandfather calls up the little child and says, Grandpa or Grandma, it is not that so hard. Go to settings, select Wi Fi, and then tap with your finger. And the grandfather asks him, which finger? And he gets irritated and says, please use any finger to get enrolling. So, what is it dividing that talk? That whole talk I'm going to divide at different levels. The level of the OPD, level in the OT, knowing your IOL and its performance, and when to know what to do and the high risk in tough cases. So it's a long talk, but I'll try to finish fast. So today's day, essential tools. Once upon a time, Pentachem, optical biometry, image-guided surgery, femto, corneal wavefront analysis, and OCT were not a necessity. They were considered to be a luxury, and they were considered to be having only institutional-based practices. Unfortunately, this is today a necessity. So according to me, one should ban contact biometry. So if you have an ultrasonic biometer, please do immersion. And of course, if necessary, you can get an optical, that's even better. Have imaging tools if necessary. You must have access to all the IOL formula, and that will help you to get better results. In the operation theater, you need a better operating microscope because if you see well, you operate better, you perform better, the results are better. Imaging system for cataract surgery, if you have, it's even very good. I'll tell you why. A femto cataract, if you can get, it is better. A high-end phaco machine because it has its own benefits. And of course, if you have an online biometry that is there today, it's called Orange. It can be connected to a microscope with better instruments. Once upon a time, we used to say have sharp instruments, sharp knives, a good hydrodissection cannula, but now the steps are better. So you must know your IOLs, you must know your monofocals, multifocals, different refractive, diffractive, apodized designs, and torics. And you must also know the placement of the lens that has to be in the bag and different ads that are available in the market with different IOLs and how to mix and match. So yes, as far as the IOLs are concerned, the two best IOLs today that I think that are available in the market is the no financial interest is the iHance and of course the Technis Symphony and now the new Synergy. The biggest advantage of iHance is that there's no loss of contrast, there are no glare and halos, and patient can do the routine work without glasses and dependency on glasses. So WhatsApp, email, iPad, mobile can be done without. Of course, you want to read small print, you need an ad of 1.25 or a 1.5, and patients are extremely happy because there's no rings and no halos. Symphony gave excellent intermediate result, but needed a little ad. But again, not much loss of contrast, and that was a. But some Symphony patients did complain of glare and halos. So knowing your depth IOLs is very very important. Whether it's a trifocal or it's a bifocal or whatever lens you want to use, knowing how the IOL performs and knowing how the patient is going to behave. You must also know your SIA, that is your surgical induced astigmatism, and if you can calculate your personalized A constant. Then came the introduction now of the J&J Synergy IOL. So what they have done here is they have combined the Symphony with a multifocal. So the biggest advantage here is that your patients are able to see distance, they can see intermediate, and they can see near. So technically it's like a trifocal because they see all the distances, but at the same time, the amount of glare and halos complained by the patients is bare minimal compared to a normal trifocal IOL that you will get in the market. So this is how the lens rings appear on high magnification, and that is how it is. There has been a big evolution in surgery as far as incisions, viscoelastics, technologies, lasers, and all are concerned. But here I'll just tell you about how the incision, I don't know, Dr. Ramamurthy would know about this. The original, we used to have stainless steel incisions, then came the ruby and the sapphire knife, then came the black diamond, and now comes all the sharp instruments that we have today. Then comes to image-guided surgery. You can see that the incision is made exactly where cyclotorsion is looked after. This is quite important if the patient has a high cylindrical number. If not, here I'm trying to mark the cornea, and at the same time, what we do a manual marking and a rhexis marking that comes from image guided, and you can see that exactly a CCC can be performed accordingly. And this is the alignment that you can get. So this is at 16 degrees placement of an IOL. This is very, very important because when you mark manually, sometimes it may be 15, sometimes it may be 14, but this gives you very perfect placement and perfect marking. How else has technology helped us is the femto laser, and I truly believe in the catalyst now. I've been using it for more than 5 years. It can do a rhexis in less than 1 second, which is very important in phacomorphic or subluxated cases. It does fragment and actually makes a pulp out of your nucleus, so your phaco energy time goes down significantly. And this is one case where a patient had a subluxated cataract. You can see the subluxation, and I made my rhexis, but there is no donesis. So here I go ahead and do put the capsular hooks, and then the beauty here I feel in the femto is that the fragmentation is beyond the rhexis, which will never happen normally. So here, go ahead and do your phacoemulsification, put the endocapsular ring, and then put in an IOL. And this was all very easy possible only because of the femto technology that we have. This is another case, a subluxated IOL, a young patient, traumatic subluxation. I went ahead and did. This was my first case, unfortunately. I made a very small rhexis. So you will see that that was my inexperience, but here you can see a tilt that is there of the lens, natural lens that is there because of the subluxation. I go ahead and make a small rhexis away from the area of subluxation, and that small rhexis is almost of 2.9 millimeter. Don't worry, friends, I'm going to show you the surgery. You will wonder what am I doing with a 2.9 millimeter rhexis, but there are two take-home messages here. So this is the fragmentation that has happened, and now I'll show you the case directly because of paucity of time. So this is a 2.9 millimeter rhexis. We have an inferior subluxation. There are two very important take-home messages here. One is you can fragment very easily. You can, this was a young patient, an 18-year-old. So I just needed a bimanual IA. I really didn't need any phaco energy. Went ahead and removed the whole cortical material and the lens material. And you can occasionally see that sometimes the posterior capsule or the anterior capsule wants to come with the cortex, but with easy patience, a little bit of patience, and stripping all of the cortex comes off quite well. Go ahead and put in an endocapsular ring. Once the endocapsular ring is placed, I go in and put an IOL. Now, very important take-home message with this is wherever your rhexis is, the IOL will center in the center of the bag, irrespective where your rhexis is. So you can have a decentered rhexis, but the IOL will center in the center of the bag that is there. So this rhexis, of course, ultimately has to be extended. Otherwise, the capsulophimosis will really cause problems. And this, we go ahead and make the rhexis a little larger. So femto in a subluxated case is quite possible. The femto in a small pupil, this is just a case to show you that there was a small pupil. I put in a Malugan ring. This was also a subluxated cataract. I went ahead and did the femto quite successfully. So just a hypermature cataract and femto, again, as I said earlier, we don't try to do fragmentation of the lens material, but here I'm going ahead, and you can see here that once I made my incision, you will see that I go ahead and just remove the center capsular CCC that is done with the laser itself. It's nice to stain sometimes, and there's a mistake I made. This traction that you're seeing is subcapsular. So the capsule itself was free. It is subcapsular, but it came off very well. So to get a perfectly round, nice CCC in a hypermature cataract is quite possible in femto technology. In hard cataracts today, we can have sectors with cubes and cubes extra. That is the biggest advantage here is this, that you can program your whole system to do whatever it wants. So this is how it looks, that you can have small cubes and sectors. It actually makes a pulp out of your hard cataract. And it is very well scientifically proven that the phaco energy that is necessary in soft cataracts, in hard cataracts, when you divide like this is quite easy. It actually reduces your phaco energy to 50% of the normal phaco energy that would be required. Now, this is a symphony toric that you're seeing here, going ahead and doing the the phacoemulsification, and then just the placement of the lens in 84 degrees. A symphony toric gives excellent distant vision and excellent intermediate distant vision. We can mix and match with this. So you can put a symphony in one eye and a synergy in the other eye, and patient will be still very happy. The synergy takes care of your reading to N6. Symphony takes care of your intermediate. Remember that I would prefer to put the synergy in the near dominant eye and the symphony in the distant dominant eye. So this combination works extremely well with aided of technology of image guided, with aided of technology of femto. It gives excellent centration of the IOL. You must have your capsular rhexis surrounding the optic all around. We know this. That prevents the lens from decentering at a later date. Now, high-end machines, I just want to show you, this is a very old video where I've kept the vacuum at 650, which is the highest, flow rate at 60, which is the highest, and the power at 40. just to show you few seconds that look at phacoemulsification, holding the nucleus, chopping and dividing, and look at the vacuum going to 550, 560, and yet you don't see any surge. So you can drive a Ferrari with a airbag. In case you have a problem, it will protect you. So this is like driving a Ferrari at 650 vacuum, 60 flow rate, no surge. This is a grade 1, grade 2 cataract and absolutely stable anterior chamber. So that helps you. Just the last case here where a patient has undergone RK. We don't get image guided images here. I'm doing phacoemulsification, quite easy to do that. Luckily, I had enough space because this was an 8-cut RK. Here I'm going ahead and putting in a toric IOL, which does very well with these patients. So you can see the manual marking and I'm aligning the lens. I love the Technis toric IOL because it sticks to the bag, it goes down and sits. There are some lenses which actually when you put it in the eye and if you saved it in the air-conditioned theater, it will not unfold easily and it takes a long time to unfold. And then when you put in irrigation aspiration, it tends to rotate. I love the Technis because once you place it in, it just goes in, aligns itself, and it never rotates. It sticks back. And we have hardly, I mean, in so many years, I've never rotated a Technis toric IOL at all. So this is an RK operated patient. You can see the alignment, manual marking, and 8-cut RK. Sometimes these wounds do open up. If they do open up, nothing to worry. Just take a suture and it will be all set. So I'm personally of the belief that in difficult cases, know your IOL, know the technology that you're using, know the multifocality that you want. If you have image guided, then it is best thing to do. In summary, technology invented by humans is a huge aid for better consistent outcomes, for better results for our patients. So don't forget that we are the doctors. Thank you very much. And thank you, J&J, to have asked me to participate in this symposium.